Look at a familiar American table. A big steak, a cheeseburger dripping with sauce, fries, a giant soda, a frosted dessert, and maybe a crunchy bag of snacks waiting for later. It may look normal, but if you look closer, that is not just a meal. That is American history served on a plate. A country once proud of its wide-open land, endless cattle, abundant wheat, cheap sugar, powerful factories, and fully stocked supermarkets created a very particular way of eating. More meat, more sugar, bigger portions, faster meals, cheaper food, and calories everywhere. And then the question appears, do Americans eat this way simply because they like it, or because an entire industrial system has been teaching them to eat this way for more than a century? Today, we are looking at the history of the American table, where meat, sugar, and calorie culture quietly shape the appetite of millions of people.
If we had to choose the strongest symbol on the American table, it would probably be meat. For many American families, a real meal often means a meal with meat. Breakfast may include bacon or sausage. Lunch may be a hamburger, a deli sandwich, or a hot dog. Dinner may bring steak, barbecue, fried chicken, ribs, meatloaf, or ground beef in countless forms. This did not happen by accident. From the beginning, the United States had a major advantage: vast land, open grasslands, abundant grain, and enough space to develop livestock farming on an enormous scale. In Europe, meat was expensive for much of history and often associated with those who could afford it. But in America, especially as the West was expanded and settled, meat became more common. Cattle were not just animals. Cattle became symbols of the frontier, cowboys, ranches, freedom, and strength. From herds driven across open plains, to railroads carrying meat into cities, to the industrial slaughterhouses of Chicago, America turned meat into a mass product. As refrigeration, rail transport, and assembly line processing developed, meat no longer had to remain local. It could be slaughtered, preserved, shipped, and sold across the country. And when something becomes cheaper, more available, and easier to buy, it begins to change the way people eat. Meat on the American table was not only about nutrition, it also carried cultural meaning. A large steak could symbolize success. A hamburger could symbolize modern life, fast, convenient, and democratic. A backyard barbecue could symbolize family, friendship, and community. In American culture, meat also became tied to ideas of power and masculinity. The image of a man standing beside a grill, flipping steaks, smoking ribs, or tending brisket has long been part of popular imagination. Meat is not only eaten, it is performed. It becomes a display of energy, abundance, and identity. But this popularity also created a darker side. When meat appears too often, when portions grow larger, and when processed meat products become a daily habit, the American table begins to face hard questions. Saturated fat, heart disease, obesity, processed meat, and the environmental impact of industrial livestock production.
Still, to understand why Americans eat so much meat, we cannot simply say Americans like meat. We have to look at the entire system behind it: land, ranches, railroads, refrigeration, slaughterhouses, advertising, supermarkets, fast food, and popular culture. In other words, meat became central to the American table because America had the power to turn meat into something cheap, abundant, and always available. If meat represents strength, then sugar represents comfort. Americans do not only eat sugar in desserts. Sweetness has entered many corners of daily life: soda, snack cakes, breakfast cereals, packaged bread, barbecue sauce, ketchup, canned foods, flavored yogurt, fast food, candy, cookies, cakes, and countless processed products. Sugar makes food easier to enjoy. Sugar makes children want more. Sugar helps products sell. And for the food industry, sugar is an extremely powerful tool. Historically, sweetness was once a luxury, but as cane sugar, beet sugar, and later industrial sweeteners became cheaper, sweetness became available to almost everyone. Once sugar became cheap, food companies could use it to make products more appealing, easier to preserve, easier to sell, and easier to make consumers buy again. Soda is the clearest example. A bottle of soda does not just sell flavored water. It sells refreshment, youth, freedom, happiness, parties, sports, movies, and lifestyle. Advertising transformed a sweet drink into a cultural symbol. People do not drink it only because they are thirsty. They drink it because it feels like participation in a modern, energetic, cheerful way of life. Snacks and candy work in a similar way.
They are not designed to be full meals. They are designed to create a quick moment of pleasure. Fast, convenient, cheap, portable, and easy to repeat. A candy bar, a small cake, soda, a bag of chips. Each one seems small. None of them feels like a major meal. But together, they create a massive amount of sugar and calories. What makes American sweetness especially important is that sugar is not limited to obviously sweet foods. Many savory foods contain sugar too. Ketchup, salad dressing, sandwich bread, canned goods, barbecue sauce. Sugar balances acidity, improves flavor, and makes products more appealing to a broad audience. So when we say America eats a lot of sugar, we are not just talking about candy and cake. We are talking about a food production system that learned how to use sweetness as a commercial language. Sweetness makes people remember. Sweetness makes people like. Sweetness makes people buy again. And in a consumer economy, that matters enormously. But this is also why sugar became one of the biggest nutrition problems in modern America. It is connected to obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic disease, and eating habits that are often formed early in childhood. Yet, just like with meat, we cannot blame personal taste alone. Americans consume so much sugar because sugar has been built into their environment through advertising, schools, vending machines, supermarkets, fast food, and beautifully packaged products sold at very low prices. After meat and sugar, the third force that shaped the American table is calories. We might call it calorie culture, a way of thinking about food first as a source of energy. Food should be filling. It should be plentiful. It should be cheap. It should be convenient. It should help people work, move, and live in a society that is always rushing.
This way of thinking did not appear out of nowhere. It came from the history of a large country that industrialized quickly, required heavy labor, moved constantly, and needed efficient food solutions. During industrialization, workers needed high-energy meals to survive long hours. During wartime, armies needed rations that were easy to transport, easy to store, and high in calories. During the Great Depression, poor families needed foods that were cheap but filling. In the post-war era, families needed convenience foods that fit the new pace of American life. From this history came the rise of cheap, convenient, calorie-dense foods. Canned goods, processed meats, industrial bread, fried foods, potato chips, snacks, soda, breakfast cereals, fast food, and frozen meals. This is a very American logic. Food should not only taste good, it should be efficient. Efficient to produce, efficient to transport, efficient to store, efficient to consume. A hamburger is a perfect example. It contains meat, bread, sauce, cheese, sometimes vegetables. It can be held in one hand. It can be eaten quickly. It can be mass-produced, standardized, and sold almost anywhere. French fries follow the same logic. Cheap, crispy, high in energy, easy to standardize. A large soda has low ingredient cost, but creates immediate satisfaction. When food is optimized for speed and profit, portion sizes tend to grow. Customers feel they are getting more value for their money. Fast food chains can offer larger sizes, combo meals, extra fries, and bigger drinks. Over time, large portions become a normal part of eating culture.
The problem is that the human body does not change as fast as the food industry. A portion that may once have made sense for heavy labor and constant physical movement can become excessive in a world of office jobs, cars, screens, and sedentary lifestyles. When calories are cheaper, easier to buy, and constantly available, overeating becomes much easier. But to be fair, Calorie culture is not only negative. In many periods of history, high-energy food was an achievement. It helped poor people access cheaper meals. It helped armies feed soldiers efficiently. It helped busy families save time. It helped modern society run faster. The problem appears when solutions created for scarcity continue to dominate in an age of abundance. When everything becomes more meat, more sugar, more fat, larger portions, more convenience foods, the American table begins to reveal a very American paradox. America has an enormous ability to produce food, yet it struggles with a nutrition crisis. There are more choices than ever, but not all choices support health. Food is cheaper and more available than ever, but the medical costs connected to diet continue to rise. Food is everywhere, but many people still lack access to fresh, healthy, balanced meals. That is why the American table is both attractive and controversial. On one hand, it represents abundance. Few countries have created a mass food culture as influential as the United States. Burgers, hot dogs, barbecue, fried chicken, donuts, soda, cereal, snacks, fast food. These foods spread around the world and became familiar symbols of modern life.
On the other hand, that same popularity raises a hard question. When food is designed to be cheap, fast, sweet, fatty, salty, and craveable, how much freedom does the consumer really have? A child who grows up eating sweet cereal in the morning, drinking soda at lunch, snacking after school, and eating fast food for dinner develops a very different palate from a child raised on fresh vegetables, home-cooked meals, and less processed food. Taste is not only instinct, taste is taught, it is advertised, it is repeated. It is shaped by price, habit, schools, parents, television, supermarkets, and even the location of fast food restaurants in a neighborhood. So when we look at American eating culture, we should not simply laugh at giant portions or oversized sodas. The more important question is, why did this system form, and why has it lasted so long? The answer lies in the combination of industry and culture. America has large-scale agriculture, producing enormous amounts of corn, wheat, meat, milk, sugar, and vegetable oils. America has strong transportation systems, allowing food to travel long distances. America has a powerful processing industry, turning raw ingredients into standardized products. America has powerful advertising, turning products into desire. America has a fast-paced lifestyle, making convenience food feel like a real need. And America has a consumer culture in which more, bigger, faster has often been treated as better. From all of this, the American table became the product of an entire civilization. It is not just about one person liking burgers or soda. It is about a country that built a system of production, distribution, and marketing that made burgers and soda some of the easiest choices available. In recent years, America has also begun to look back at itself. Debates about healthy eating, organic food, reducing sugar, cutting back on red meat, plant-based diets, obesity prevention, better school lunches, nutrition labeling, and soda restrictions all show that American society is not standing still. On one side, the food industry remains extremely powerful. On the other, consumers are becoming more concerned about health, food origins, and environmental impact. Trends such as farm-to-table dining, plant-based meat, organic food, low-carb diets, keto, intermittent fasting, and clean eating all reflect an attempt to regain control over the table. But changing a system built over more than a century is not easy. Because meat, sugar, and calories do not exist only in food. They exist in memory, advertising, family habits, prices, convenience, and emotion. A burger may be a fast meal, but it may also be a childhood memory. A soda may be excess sugar, but it may also feel like summer, a movie theater, a ball game, or a road trip. A barbecue may contain too much meat, but it may also mean a weekend with family and friends. That is why every debate about food is complicated. People do not eat only with nutrition labels. They eat with memory, culture, circumstance, and emotion. Looking back, the history of the American table can be told through 3 words: meat, sugar, and calories. Meat shows the power of land, livestock, and industry. Sugar shows the power of advertising, taste, and consumer culture. Calories show the desire to create food that is cheap, abundant, convenient, and efficient. These 3 forces helped America build a mass food culture with global influence. But they also left difficult questions about health, the environment, and the responsibility of the food industry. Perhaps the most important thing is not to decide whether American food is simply good or bad. The important thing is to understand that every hamburger, every soda, every oversized order of fries carries a story. A story about a country that turned abundance into pride. A story about an industry that learned how to turn appetite into profit. And a story about a society still trying to balance convenience, pleasure, and health. In the end, the American table does not only show what Americans eat, it shows what America became. Vast, energetic, industrial, persuasive, convenience-driven, and still living with the cost of the abundance it created.